and I made him watch. Hello and welcome back to And I Made Him Watch. I'm your host, Danny Page, and here with me forever and always, a man yet again questioning his life choices, my husband and filmmaker, Troy Allen. Say hi, Troy.
Hi, Troy.
Hi. Wow, okay.
Hello, all you cool cats and kittens out there.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, throwback, huh?
Yeah.
Some Tiger King action? Some damn Carol Baskin?
Oh, God, that was crazy. Why'd you go there?
I don't know.
Interesting.
That's how my mind works.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Starting out with some Tiger King. Dude, that's so sad. That whole series is so crazy and sad.
You know, I heard that he recently just got remarried.
Oh, really?
In prison. But yeah.
Yeah, that happens. That happens.
When you hire people for murder, you know, you typically go to prison for that, yeah.
Well, it was that, and, you know, I think some like animal cruelty, right?
Well, he went to prison for the hire for murder conspiracy.
Yeah, but he obviously, there was some dirty shit going on.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, anyway, this podcast is not about the Tiger King. It's about movies. All right, okay. So, oh boy. So we watched Angel's Egg from 1985. It's a haunting allegorical anime directed by Mamoru Oshii, renowned for Ghost in the Shell, in a collaboration with artist Yoshitaka Amano, known for his ethereal designs in the Final Fantasy series, and also Vampire Hunter D, which we will be watching sometime this year or next year. I'm pretty excited for that one.
So I never watched the original Ghost in the Shell or the whitewashed remake with ScarJo.
Yeah, I never watched that one.
But I mean, it's kind of like concepts that I would gravitate towards.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
Yeah, the whole like cyberpunk aesthetic sort of vibe, I kind of gravitate towards.
Questions of humanity and what makes a soul, and what makes a human.
Which, I mean, I fell in love with like The Matrix and stuff too, which is also sort of that genre. So.
Kind of, yeah. There's similarities. You probably, I mean, yeah, I would sit down and watch
like it. Yeah.
It's more of a serious anime. It's dark and gloomy. It's gritty.
I like that.
It wasn't my favorite anime growing up and stuff, but I watched a few episodes. I never finished it though. So yeah. So before Angel's Egg, Mamoru Oshii began his career with Tatsunoko Production in the late 1970s, and then moved to Studio Pierrot, where he directed episodes of Urusei Yatsura, a popular sci-fi comedy anime. His early work in Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer, in 1984, showed a shift towards dreamlike philosophical storytelling, clashing with fans' expectations, but hinting at a deeper existential theme he would fully explore in Angel's Egg. And then before working on Angel's Egg, Yoshitaka Amano was already a well-known illustrator and character designer. He began his career at just 15. Yeah. Joining Tatsunoko Productions in the late 1960s, where he worked on classics like Speed Racer, Gatchaman, and Cast Hearn. And in the 80s, he left the studio to pursue freelance work, developing a more painterly, ethereal style. His art gained critical acclaim through illustrations for fantasy novels, especially in Vampire Hunter D series, which cemented his reputation for surreal, gothic, and dreamlike imagery, perfectly suited for the tone in Angel's Egg. And we really get to see that gothic tone come out of his work in this movie. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so extremely beautiful. This movie it's something else. It really is. It is beautiful. It's eerie. It's haunting. It's confusing as fuck, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, I take it you really like the Vampire Hunter D series.
Oh, Vampire D is one of my favorite animes ever. There's two Actually, there might be a third one, but I don't think it's available like in the US, or there was a talk about making a third one. But it's 2 movies based off of the visual novels. And it's good. It's goth, it's anime, it's vampires, it's everything that I love. So yeah, I really like Vampire Hunter D.
Good. That's nice.
And you're gonna watch it and you'll probably like it too.
Sure.
I mean, you really enjoyed the style of this, and it's the same artist. It's still Yoshitaka, I do believe, right? I always forget. Yoshitaka, I'm sorry. So Amano is a great, he's a good artist. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of other stuff too. So Angel's Egg was conceived as a visual poem, prioritizing imagery over dialogue. So there's hardly any dialogue. Oshii and Amano developed the concept through evocating image boards rather than traditional scripts. So it really is all just visual.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a storybook kind of thing too. It's definitely more of a, I don't know how this movie, it's just, it's hard to explain a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not for someone that depends on dialogue to propel a story forward, you know? Because a lot of the story is told in the visuals and stuff, and you kind of do have to pay attention to what you're seeing.
Yes.
Because what may seem like just some throwaway sort of shot or whatever, it's telling more of the story than you believe. So, yeah.
Yep. So the story, this film begins with the boy. There are only 2 characters really in this story, the boy and then the girl. That's how they're described. They don't have names. They don't even know each other's names. But this boy is standing among this old machinery. And it appears that he's standing on a chessboard and staring out into this void, this ocean. And he stares off into this large body of water as a giant mechanical eye, half closed, raises up from the water and then sinks back into the water. And on this mechanical eye are these statues of people praying, and they also have like this kind of like halo around them. So it's very visually like compelling. And then we hear the question, "Who are you?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And before we even see the boy, we see this translucent.
The hands. We see the hands, and then we see the egg, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. So there's an egg. It's a translucent egg with a baby bird inside, and it's being like cradled by, you know, these like sort of veiny, sort of organic tendrils, kind of, which roots. Has this like umbilical sort of symbology to the earth, I guess. But the birds are typically symbolism for like freedom. A bird being released from its cage, being able to fly away and above their earthly problems and stuff. But I really do love the visuals so far, and they kind of remind me of Cowboy Bebop in a way.
Yeah.
You know, then that sort of art style. But yeah, it's very interesting so far.
Yeah.
I would say.
It's a peculiar way to start a story.
Yeah.
Of seeing this, you know, giant eye. It's symbolism. A lot of people think this is God as a symbolization or a symbol or a physical representation, and that it has been asleep for a really long time. Being under the water first kind of symbolizes being in a different world, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's half open. This eye is made of metal and glass as well. So it's not very human. It's not flesh. It really, to me, it symbolizes God not really seeing the whole picture or not really caring what is happening. And in a way, this boy, we see that they have some sort of connection, whether this boy resembles Jesus Christ or not, or some sort of savior figure, which we'll get into later too, is maybe being sent on a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of seems like there's some sort of communication between the two. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figure like this is God sending this human on a mission of some sort years before the events of what we're seeing happens.
It could
in
be.
my interpretation.
It could be. It could be also when the question is asked, "Who are you?"
Mm-hmm.
It's not a question in the literal sense of like asking him, "Who are you?" It's a philosophical one. It's like it's asking him the question so that way he'll, through introspection, try to figure out who he is.
Yeah, kind of inner reflection. He's asking himself, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. So, in some other place, a pale young girl wakes up. She wears a dress, a very simple dress. It's dark and with stripes, and she clutches a large white egg under her cloak, making her appear pregnant. We also see the shadow images of an ark during the intro credits here. Mm-hmm. So we see her wake up and go through her morning routine of putting the egg under her dress and then wrapping herself in the cloak and leaving this sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And she crosses these vacant fields, into an abandoned city.
And the visuals we see of the city below,
mm-hmm.
what appears to be like a mountain, kind of, it's just so hauntingly beautiful because the city is just, I don't know, it's like very desolate, sort of reminds me of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like the city we see in the Matrix when Morpheus takes Neo to the desert of the real, and he's showing them this fucking remnant of Mega City or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what it reminds me of.
It's this very European styled city. It's very clustered and condensed, like a big village in like Europe looks like.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of people should be here. It looks like it's almost like maybe a port at one point because we see, I don't know if we see it then, but at some point we do get a visual of the river going into the city. So it is connected to this, ocean we see earlier.
Right.
So it's supposed to be this metro area. Mm-hmm. And when we get into this area, we realize it's pretty much abandoned.
Yeah.
Like, she walks silently through it, the ruined city, and there's these vacant fields. It seems like the world has been abandoned by a divine or forgotten time. And it also has the suggestion of like a post-apocalyptic faith type of situation. And also definitely you get that Eden, like fallen Eden vibe as well. Mm-hmm. And I do believe it kind of, the boy and the girl can symbolize Adam and Eve in a way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons Oshii did, write this as, or he didn't really write it. he drew it up.
Storyboarded it.
Yeah, he storyboarded it to have this male and female figure. And it's very, it's kind of scary how like deserted it is. And it's very dark. It's very shadowy, even though it's supposed to be like morning time as well. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely like a city that's been cast in shadow for a long time.
Right.
So through the city, and then at one point she stops for water and hides the egg in a tree. Water is such a big thing in this movie as well, and we'll really get more into it.
Yeah.
The water symbolization and stuff.
Yeah. When we in the intro credits, she runs away from the ark and down the hill or whatever, and she disappears from view. But we're left on this like static view of the ark, and then eventually she comes back up our side of the hill, and vanishes past camera. But she's left behind this like trail of feathers, right? So it's almost to signify that like either like she is a bird
Yeah.
or possibly an angel.
Yes.
So
She definitely is like a guardian in this film, especially like kind of like a guardian of belief. It's like a holy figure or martyr. She is a symbol of devotion and blind faith. So I think that's why he gave her those feathers, is to really hit the head on that she is some sort of like angelic figure.
right.
And she's devoted to this egg, even though she doesn't really fully understand what it is and what it symbolizes.
Right.
And that is blind faith. She's blind faith.
Yeah.
We'll just say it. She's blind faith. And that literally is what it is.
I mean, whatever it is, it's very like avant-garde, which is kind of par for the course for this podcast.
Yes, lovely. Honestly, it's yeah, yeah. So the girl goes out throughout her day. We see her wandering through shops looking for food, and we definitely understand at this point when she's scavenging through these markets and shops, she just nonchalantly discards things she doesn't want onto the floor. Like, it's very childlike. It's very innocent almost, and neglectful.
Yeah.
So we see her go through these. We see her eating jam. So she's not even eating like real food. She's eating like sweets and stuff. And then we see these tanks rolling through, and it's very strange because we haven't seen any like big movement of anything other than the girl at this point. And then there's the eye and stuff, but that doesn't seem like part of the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And these tanks are very interesting in shape. And on top of these tanks, the boy we see from earlier is on it. And the tanks stop and they let the boy off, and he approaches the girl, and he's carrying this like cross-shaped weapon, and his presence is very quiet and kind of unsettling. And he finds the girl and begins to follow her. And she's very wary at him at first, but doesn't run. And he begins to question the girl about what's inside the egg. And he even at one point she goes off to get more water and leaves the egg alone. And he appears and he has the egg with him.
Yeah.
And this is so twisted. It's so twisted if you really think about it, especially what his end goal is with this. Is because he has taken the egg without her knowing and then presents it back to her, giving it back, and tells her she should hide things or keep things precious that are precious to her inside. And that is, for what happens and what he does to this egg, it's so bizarre. It's so interesting on what this means, what this signifies.
Yeah, which we can analyze later, but it is strange that he took it from her in the first place when she wasn't paying attention and knowing what he does in the end anyways. But yeah, the city, it's so quiet, and you don't hear really anything other than like the running water and stuff, and she's, like you said, scrounging and everything. But then suddenly she's standing out on the street, and you hear the tanks before we see them.
Yeah.
But they're rumbling, and finally they crest over the hill, and they're very like biomechanical in appearance. And I kind of equate it to maybe an influence from H.R. Geiger, who if you don't know who he is, he created the look of the xenomorph from Alien. So it's very, like you said, almost like, I don't know, creature in a way. Like if you pay attention to the shots of the tanks going away and back over the other side of the hill, and you look at the cannon, at the very end of the barrel, it has the appearance of a chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you can kind of see like a chameleon eye sort of looking at the girl or whatever. But yeah, it's very immersive, and she definitely has something about water. Like she loves water or something. Because every time she finds these big glass, jars, she fills them up and stuff. And then we see what she's doing with them later.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, water is very, again, like symbolic in this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it has a lot to do with like biblical references and stuff. So,
True.
Yeah.
True.
So these two kind of become a pair. She moves throughout the city and begins to leave the city, and he is following her through all of it. They're not speaking really. At one point, they're walking down the street, and they begin to be passed by these ghostly figures because the fish are back. These men, these ghostly figures, are holding harpoons and are silently hunting the shadows of these giant fish swimming along the buildings of the city. She has some sort of fear of these men. I don't know if it's like a practical fear or just like a childish fear of like strangers. And the boy becomes her protector now.
Right.
Shielding her from these men.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it could be a euphemism for mankind hunting a species to excess to the point where they go extinct.
Yeah.
Because these fishermen, they're throwing these spears or the harpoons and stuff, and obviously it's not doing anything because the fish are shadows, and obviously there's some sort of like story or metaphor behind it, but I mean, and you see like throughout this entire movie, almost everything is just left up to interpretation.
Oh, yes. Yes. That's one of the reasons why this movie is so hard to kind of like discuss clearly, because there's so much going on. And especially with me, all of these symbols mean different things to me. And my brain just goes spiraling on each several thing, and it goes crazy, and it crisscrosses. It's insane.
Crisscross
honestly.
applesauce, yeah. But the thing is like this movie, depending on who watches it, it's an entirely different movie.
Yep.
Like the way you watch it, the way I watch it is completely different.
Yeah.
So.
And it's beautiful like that. I'd love to like discuss this movie with a group of people and see what their insights of everything is.
Yeah.
As for the fish and the men, I feel like it's like a blind ritual, and they're fishing for something that's no longer there.
Right.
And it symbolizes a meaningless repetition or a false faith. And it's as if they're trying to grasp something they cannot control, which results in them just destroying the city. They're harpooning the buildings and windows. They don't really care about their surroundings. They just care about the fish. And it's getting them nowhere. And it's just continues a cycle of destruction.
So, yeah, I mean, you can really go into like depth about that if you wanted to, and I may just do that here in a minute. But for the most part, like the artwork, it also kind of reminds me of like Heavy Metal 2000. Yeah, just that very like dark and gritty sort of lines and color and stuff. The score also gives it this sort of like ethereal feel.
Oh yeah,
which adds to that concept of like spirituality.
Right. And for this movie to have such little dialogue, the ambience and the music and everything is so important.
Yeah.
And it almost like you forget that there is music or background music, because throughout the whole thing there's sound.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nature sounds, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of wind.
Right.
So, I mean, they did a great job of getting you to absorb that.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of ambience. I mean, it does a really good job of immersing you in the world. The only thing, which you do get a little bit here and there that's missing, is dialogue, which, I mean, this story doesn't really need.
No.
Because it's such a well well, in the grander scheme of things, it's such a well-known story as it stands, as far as the themes and concepts behind it. But the city itself, I also kind of feel like the city originally belonged to the fish.
Okay.
And the reason being is we do see like a lot of like aquatic themes. There's like fish statues and stuff. Like there's sort of like gargoyles and stuff that are aquatic animals.
Well, you know what the fish symbolizes in Christianity, right? So, according to like the Bible and biblical scriptures, the fish is a symbolization of a secret Christian or Jesus Christ himself, because when Christians were getting prosecuted and like hunted and stuff, they would use the symbol of fish to symbolize their faith in Christ and stuff.
Interesting.
So the fish itself is a symbol of Christ, of faith and Christianity.
But yeah, circling back to what we were talking about before with the fishermen destroying things, it kind of reminds me of like all of the wars and stuff that have been caused because of religion, like the Seven Crusades,
the Crusades,
and things like that. Obviously, mankind as it stands has not been unscathed by religion.
No.
So, but, the whole like blind ritual, trying to hunt something that's not there.
Yeah.
Really goes deep.
And it's also like I'm not sure if other people see the fish.
Right.
I know the girl mentions that the fish are out, but she does say they're hunting something that's not there. So I don't think anyone else sees the fish but the men who are hunting the fish.
Right.
So it really it's like a blind faith. It's they're hunting for something they can't see. They can't feel it. They can't touch it.
True.
Yep. So from here, the girl and boy continue to walk through the city. And the girl begins to open up and speak a little bit more. And she reveals that she's protecting the egg because she believes that it's something important inside.
Mm-hmm. At least she's committed, though.
Yeah, she loves this egg. The egg is her world.
Yeah.
Her egg is her hope and dreams and future.
I also want to mention like the symbolism behind the way she carries it, because she
pregnancy.
She tucks it under her dress, and the way she carries it makes it look like she's pregnant. You know, which I feel also kind of alludes to her role being sort of this like Virgin Mary.
Yes, definitely.
Sort of role.
Yes. I mean, she is the devout.
Yeah.
She is the religion.
Yeah.
She is a symbolization of someone who is so absorbed with what they think they have versus of what is actually surrounding them. Mm-hmm. And that we really will get into that later. But so they move through the city. It's like a building, like a temple, a museum even, filled with these fossils, including this wall that has a tree on it. Mm-hmm. And the man tells this twisted version of Noah's Ark story. Sorry, let me... I'm telling this before because he tells the story before they see the bird, but in my notes I mentioned the skull and stuff before, so sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he tells this story of Noah's Ark where he says that the dove never returned, and the people even forgot that there was a dove. They forget their humanity. They forget their hope. They forget their peace.
Which, I mean, I kind of dig this version of the story because, I mean, giving it that dark twist really sells it, you know? And I now see that she could be the bird from the story. Yeah.
Again, she symbolizes hope. She symbolizes she's belief.
Yeah.
You know, she is. So after he tells her the story, she says the bird is here.
Mm-hmm.
And she leads him up this winding staircase and through these long holes that are decorated with all these glass bottles of water that she's left. And then she reveals this large skeleton of a bird with a human skull. This imagery, we don't see it very long. It's like a very quick glimpse of it. But we get a nice view of the whole thing. And it's so haunting and eerie and just, it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty big skeleton, but I feel like the dove from the story isn't actually a dove. I think it's an angel.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's why the skeleton that we see has a human skull. Like it appears to be human.
Yeah.
With wings and everything. So it has this very like idealistic version of an angel, you know. So, which I mean, to be fair, like the big giant eye in the sky, if you think about it, have you ever seen pictures of like an actual like biblical description of an angel?
Yes.
And it's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it remind you of the eye in the sky?
Yeah, now
kinda?
that you mention it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's supposed to be an eye with many eyes, with thousands of eyes and like 6 wings and yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. This whole story is just kind of fucking discombobulated and everything.
So when she shows him this fossilization of this angel, if you will, it is not beautiful. It's not. A skeleton in a way is elegant and beautiful, but the skull of this isn't quite human. It's kind of pointed. It's kind of got almost like fangs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frightening. And he seems shocked by this and then kind of understanding. And I think this is interesting because she, as a child, she doesn't find this frightening. She doesn't find it confusing. It makes sense to her.
Yeah.
And it kind of is kind of a metaphor for religion itself as being something that some people find beautiful. But if you look at it on the outsider aspect of it, it's a little confusing and frightening for people.
Right.
And again, another symbolization of blind faith, of accepting something that looks frightening, I guess.
True.
It's very, yep. Mm-hmm.
True. Also, those of you out there that have young kids, if they're scared of skeletons, make sure you remind them that they have one living inside them right now.
God.
But no, seriously, I mean, because religion in and of itself, it requires that sort of blind faith. I mean, you have to believe in it, even though there's no sort of like real tangible evidence.
No real tangible. Made up, sure. Paid for by the Christian, churches and Catholic Church. Yeah, plenty of that out there.
Oh, yeah.
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 But realistically, no, not really. There's no possible way that, we came from 2 people, alone. just in the beginning, like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's anyway.
Well, yeah. Neither one of us are very religious.
No,
but
not in the Christian sense. No. Also, the story, going back to our story, before we went on a little bit of a tangent. Yeah. This new twisted story suggests that God abandoned the world, or that humanity forgotten about the divine powers or the promise to fix the world afterwards. Mm-hmm. And what a cruel thing. It's so cruel. And then the absence of the dove it knows peace, no redemption from a God. God has forgotten you. The God has flooded the world and skipped town, buddy. Went to go get milk and never came back, never came home.
Yeah, I mean, in this canon of history, like God flooded the world. He made it rain for 40 days and 40 nights. And then the people released the dove to seek help from God or whatever.
The dove was supposed to go find land, wherever it could find land. But as we see here, the dove returned to the ark.
Yeah.
And died.
And
came back.
Yeah.
Meaning it couldn't find any land.
Right. Because in this canon, like God floated the world and then never returned to rebuild it.
Yeah. He did not keep his promise.
And it took so long, like the people either forgot that, well, eventually like forgot the dove even existed. Mm-hmm. Let alone remembering they released it to go find land. Mm-hmm. They completely forgot about the dove, much like God forgot about them.
It must have been generations, you know?
It had to have been, yeah.
Generations.
I mean, but even then, like, it would had to have been a long time. Like, I'm thinking at least, like, if I had to put a number on it, maybe 1,000 years. Because if you think about it, tribal knowledge or generational knowledge can span hundreds of years.
Yeah, of course, it still does.
But, I mean, what stories other than, like, I don't know, like the religious stuff, like with like paganism, for example, like Norse gods and everything. Like, sure, those things have stood the test of time, but other than that, like, there's no other stories you know of from like, you know, Norse or sort of like Viking.
I mean, Beowulf,
sure, yeah.
Sorry,
but I mean. That may just be because it was written down, you know, like if in a sense, like had it not been written down, like that wouldn't have transpired generations.
Well, I guess it really depends on what our ancestors thought were important to carry down.
True, which also lends itself to they must not have thought that releasing the dove was important.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean now.
So
they didn't give that knowledge. They let it die.
It died.
I wonder if they thought if they let it die, it would be better for the people not to wait on something. You know what I mean?
Which is another sort of like blind faith thing too.
Dude, this movie's crazy. It's so good, but it's so crazy.
Anyways.
The interpretation of everything is so layered. It's so deep and layered. It's an ice cube or a
iceberg.
Iceberg, yeah. So let's get through it.
Yeah.
While the girl sleeps that night, the man watches over her, in a sense, or waits, not watches, but waits. And the fire dies. He takes the egg. He raises his crossed weapon and smashes the egg against a stone. And then when the girl wakes up and finds it destroyed, she's devastated. She flees, running off a cliff and into the water, and there she sees a reflection of her older self and merges with it. And then the egg being empty is so devastating here. The shattering of faith by logic or betrayal, the girl's belief is destroyed. It's a spiritual death. And the actress who did her voice, did such a wonderful, like, gut, soul crushing scream. So it's emotional. It cuts you a little bit. I mean, even though we are not religious people, we never want someone to be hurt, you know?
Right.
And having this experience of having everything she had cared for, she carried this egg like a child. Mm-hmm. She, took it everywhere. She protected it. She hugged it. She nourished it. She loved this. And for it to just not only be broken, right? Not just to be shattered in front of her, but for it to be empty.
Yeah.
To be nothing there. No life. Not a bird. Not an angel. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty devastating too that this man who seemingly was
a savior
figure turned out to be a destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the documentaries we watched about the film, we learned that Mamoru Oshii was contending with his own outlook on religion, and allegedly had been religious and recently began rejecting religion.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of could see the parallels between what we see on screen and his own life.
Yeah.
You know, he searching for something that's not there or was never there the whole time.
When he was asked what it was about, he said that he didn't understand it either.
Yeah.
Like there was no direct point. It's almost like he let his subconscious just kind of take over because it wanted to tell a story of some sort.
Right.
And I think as an artist, especially when you're an emotional artist, when you connect to your art, you subconsciously add things into your art that you don't quite understand yet. Mm-hmm. And it's a way to process those feelings and process that trauma outward so we can understand it better and see it. And I think that's what he did here. I think he took all his faith and then also his blind faith. He took his vision of what was happening in the world and he projected it and had these two characters go through this world he's created for him to process everything. To have these characters go through what he was going through in a way.
Yeah.
And I think he did it beautifully. It's sad. It's very emotional.
It is.
So we also see these trees at the end here. We hadn't seen them before, really, other than like at the beginning. We did see the one egg. But we see these trees, quote unquote, rising up to the sky, holding a larger translucent egg like before, with a bird fetus in it. And it wasn't until after the destruction of the egg, we actually see a bigger picture of what's happening in this city, in this world. Because before, we didn't see where the egg was. Mm-hmm. We didn't see it was attached. And then after he tells that story of the life of the tree reaching its branches up, we're like, oh, this is actually what he's looking for. This is the story he told us. He is looking for an egg. He has a mission to find this, but now he's ignoring that mission, that bigger problem, and only focusing on what was in front of him. He found a girl with blind faith. He found an egg that he thinks he's looking for. And he's so focused on her and her faith and her possession of the egg, he kind of ignores these giant egg trees, these problems, what he's actually looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This fucking guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, to be honest, like, at this point in the movie, I was kind of lost, which I think most people are. And what is seemingly her last breath, she causes a bunch of eggs to appear on the surface of the water. Right? Mm-hmm. And maybe it's kind of like a metaphor that, like, ideas can't die or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, even though her own faith was crushed, you know, her own breath, her voice even, she can continue on. Yeah. That faith.
Well, she becomes like an angel. She becomes a martyr.
She does.
You know, it's a symbolic of ascension, death, or transcendence. You know, it's possibly entering this cycle of rebirth or becoming a part of the myth, like a what were they called?
Saints.
Yeah, like a saint. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it also kind of solidifies the whole, like, Virgin Mary role in a sense, that she cared for this egg the whole movie, and in the end, her dying breath, she birthed dozens more, you know? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I could kind of see, like, you know, this sort of, like, immaculate conception idea, maybe.
Okay, yeah, kind of. Well, women, eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have,
Maybe.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, I think, you know, like I think it's more what you said, like, you know, her death is a symbol of her faith, of her blind faith, and that death will inspire others. Mm-hmm. And that's why so many eggs appear. Those are all like ideas or seeds even of planting her ideas and releasing them after her death.
Right.
So the boy stands on the beach, and the mechanical eye rises from the ocean as the boy watches, revealing the statues of angels, and now among them the girl and the egg. The boy now stands alone on the beach as we slowly zoom out, revealing a large ark floating in a void-like sea.
Which is wild, okay? Because what we're seeing, and this is just my opinion, I feel like what we're seeing is the ark has capsized.
Yeah.
And we're floating on the surface of this great giant ocean, and the city was constructed on the hull, the bottom of this boat. And it's a giant fucking ark,
Yeah.
this whole time.
Yeah.
So very strange.
It's a way of putting us in a perspective of like how small we are.
True.
And how, we are in this one place, and then that's a part of a bigger place. It's part of a bigger land, a country, and then a world. And then everything beyond it is so much bigger. It's huge.
Yep.
It makes you really feel very tiny, very small. Very small.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the elements. Let's talk about the egg. What?
The egg.
So, between Christianity and like Japanese folklore, the egg normally represents creation, a soul, hope, or resurrection. Like the tomb of Christ opening, or breaking the egg to symbolize the loss of faith, like falling from grace, as we see. But in Japanese folklore, it's unborn spirits, it's divine power itself. And breaking an egg might mean destroying potential or offending a spiritual balance.
Okay, so when we saw the boy using what appears to be a crucifix, breaking the egg, that was his own fall from grace.
Yes.
Like that was almost like Lucifer's fall from heaven, in a sense.
I think also it could be the way that Christianity entered Japan.
Okay.
And how it's still not like quite as popular. I mean, there are definitely much more Shinto shrines than churches, I think.
Oh, yeah.
From what I remember. So I think it is like they definitely are reflecting each other. And I think Mamoru wanted to like show that reflection and also show how Christianity kind of maybe affected Japanese culture and folklore itself.
This is true. I mean, I don't recall, I don't recall seeing any churches when you were in Japan.
Not really. I think.
So typically, if you see
maybe one in Hachinohe, maybe like in a bigger like area, city.
Because typically in Japan, like if you see like a torii gate, that is a Shinto shrine.
Yes.
But there are also Buddhist temples.
Yes, lots of Buddhists. So when you see the Buddha statues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So typically those are the two religions, at least in like rural Japan where we were, those are the two main religions, Shinto and Buddhism. So, yeah, interesting.
So the water is everywhere. The flooding, the flowing, the drinking of water, the displaying of water. In Christianity, water you have baptism, you have cleansing, you have rebirth. It's a holy symbol of renewal. And the girl's comfort in water is her faith. It's what keeps her rejuvenated because she's constantly drinking it. She's constantly having water around her. And then the boy, he avoids the water most of the time, and it's a doubt in maybe his sin. And then within Japanese folklore and culture, water is a boundary between worlds, memory and purification. And sometimes it brings spirits or gods.
Which is interesting because you do see both concepts in the movie, because even at the end of the movie when he's standing on the beach,
he never goes into the water.
He never goes into it. It's lapping at his feet though. Like he keeps being hit by it.
Yeah.
And that is his own fear, like his own doubt. But as we see, like the eye comes from the water.
Yes.
So it's transcending through the boundary. And he's being like confronted by it.
And also when she leads him into that ancient temple, the art part or whatever, he steps into the water and he stops and like is kind of almost frightened by it.
Right.
He's surprised. He doesn't want to wade through it, but he has to.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
So the girl is a Mary-like figure, pure, devoted, and nurturing. She guards the egg like it's sacred. Her sorrow and transformation might echo martyrdom or the virgin's grief.
That's martyrdom.
Martyrdom, sorry. What'd I say? Matrium?
Martyrdom?
Martyrdom? I don't know. Dyslexia is a bitch, man. Japanese folklore is similar. She's similar to a Miko, which is a shrine maiden, a pure, emotionally reserved, bound to spiritual duties, often tragic. And she may become a kami or a spirit or transform like figure in Shinto myths. With her death is a return to the spirit world. So we see her completion when she rises. She's on the eyeball.
Yeah. Well, even when she takes the swan dive off the cliff, her mirror reflection is her older self.
Yes.
And then they finally kiss. They touch.
And there's a barrier there.
Yeah, but she breaks through the barrier and becomes her older self.
Her transition, her highest potential.
Right.
In death. She becomes a martyr again. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The boy may represent a Christ figure or a possible Judas, which makes a lot of sense.
Judas Priest, maybe.
Wow. His cross weapon adds to this, and his act of breaking the egg feels like a loss of divine faith or mankind's rejection of grace. He also has these bandages around the palms of his hands.
Yeah.
He also has beads in his hair. And that's really, that cross also, it looks like a weapon. It looks like a weapon. It looks like a weapon of faith.
Well, so what's also interesting is a lot of visualizations of Jesus Christ that we see. Jesus carrying the cross. He's got it like on his shoulder, and he's carrying it. And that's exactly how we see. Yeah, that's exactly how we see the boy carrying it. So and the fact, with the bandages on his palms and stuff, like you could not solidify the fact that he's Jesus Christ any more than it already is. Yeah. So.
And then in Japanese folklore, it could be a ronin. He could be a fallen spirit or a testing spirit like those in old tales. Often not evil, just lost or unsure. In folklore, such acts break the natural order or serve a tie between human and divine. So he is like this lost figure of, and again, that goes to my thoughts on him being out on a mission, that this eye has given him this divine mission that only he can carry out.
Right.
And he is unsure about his own acts. Especially, again, it comes back to my seeing what is in front of him versus what is above him and what the bigger issue is. He's so focused on completing this mission almost and proving his point, he misses the actual point.
Right.
Okay. The fish. Again, the fish is Jesus. It's faith. It's discipline. And then the shadow fish, the emptiness of faith, the spiritual death is and the fisherman may represent the church lost in meaningless routine, the constants of the same thing over and over again. And then in Japanese folklore, fish often represent luck, abundance, or spiritual messages. And then chasing shadows, a futile ritual, or a loss of meaning. They may represent people lost in tradition without heart, a common thing in post-war Japanese story. And that goes on, like, back to my point of them trying to catch these shadows, and it's not something they can control. It's not something they can obtain.
Right.
So they end up destroying themselves. They create war. They create chaos. Yep. All in all, Angel's Egg it's different. It's beautiful. It's haunting. It's sad. It's soul crushing. It's a point of view of someone who is struggling with something they once loved and believed in, and has found out that it was a lie.
Right.
It's a false promise. Yep.
Well.
Yep.
It's over now.
It is. It is. It's over. I've been waiting to do this one for a long time. This has been on the list for a long time. Angel's Egg.
Well, had you seen it prior to this?
Oh no, this is a story. So I found out about Angel Egg years ago, and I could never find like the time to sit down and watch it. So when it got to this point on the list, I started doing research, trying to find a place I could watch it. And pretty much does not exist if you don't have connections. I reached out to several of my friends because I'm chronically online, and I have friends in different places who have connections to other friends and stuff. Anyway, I had a friend find me a part, and thanks for that. They know who they are. I'm not going to disrespect his privacy to say his name on up here. But anyway, we appreciate his help. He found me a copy that we could watch that actually had subtitles, because that was important.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. So yeah, this movie was kind of hard to find. So if you want to watch it, good luck, or no Japanese, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe do your research. Maybe you can find it. Who knows? Mm-hmm. Who knows? Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Well, what do we have in store for next episode?
So next week we are watching the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh.
Yep. And then the week after we're actually taking a break because it's our actually we're taking kind of like 2 weeks actually, because we have our wedding anniversary and we're gonna go do something with that, and then we have Monster Palooza on June 1st. So
hell yeah, brother.
We're going to be busy after next week.
Yeah.
We'll remind everybody when it gets time. But
yeah.
Yes.
And we're in the process of getting more stickers.
We're talking about it.
We're talking about it. There's the potential.
Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be at Monster Palooza on June 1st, Sunday, let us, like, if you see us, if you recognize us, ask us for stickers. We'll give you stickers.
Yeah. I mean, there's at least 8,000 of you out there that may or may not know who we are, but who knows?
Also, I don't think all 8,000 subscribers are going to be
Monster Palooza. I'm just saying the odds are in our favor. Yeah. So anyways,
thank you so much in joining us. Also, I'm really interested in people's interpretation of this movie. So if you have seen it, leave us a comment.
Yes.
Let us know what you think about it. This episode's a little crazy. It's a little, because there's so much. There's so many layers, and I apologize for being all over the place.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We sit and we analyze films.
Yep.
And
sometimes we just make fun of them.
Well, sometimes it's hard not to. Okay.
Like the Devil's Triangle. That one was.
Oh Jesus.
Troy's face.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one was something.
Oh man, no, that's Satan's Triangle.
Satan's Triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Grandpa movie.
Oh, or like Cemetery Man.
I like Cemetery Man. It's good.
It was a good movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cemetery Man is good.
Oh, The Lair of the White Worm.
White Worm was good too.
That was good too.
Yeah.
But
you've done some good ones.
Yeah, I know. That just goes
to
show
Alice? Alice was good.
Okay.
Anyways,
that's all we have time for today. Yeah, thanks for listening. Please don't forget to reach out to us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can find this episode as well as all of our other episodes on YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. But as always, Stay spooky.
Bye.